All right, let there be light. Sit on my beanbag chair here. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I just did a light language video in the dark. Forgot I had a light. So now I'm going to follow it up with this video so I'm not in the dark. What I wanted to share was there's a lot of energies always coming in lately. There's a lot of us out there. Sometimes I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot because the biggest theme that I always share, get into the heart, right? And I could say that in every single video and I still probably wouldn't be saying it enough. And if we don't know how to do that, there's plenty of videos I've done on how to do that, and other people have done as well, other light workers and star seeds. Go to heartmath.org and check out HeartMath, or you can check out meditation videos on the heart, and finding that space of gratitude and being in that space of appreciation and patience with ourselves and with others is so important right now. It can be challenging at times. We've got a lot of upgrades going on literally in all ways, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and there's a lot of people going through a lot of stuff still. Many of us have already done tons and tons and tons of work, and it keeps coming up that there's more. However, I would like to share that there's also a lot of people that I'm seeing and meeting that are addicted to doing the work. It becomes like, all right, I know there's more to do. Sometimes it's about recognizing that we could take a break. Not to say that it doesn't mean we shouldn't meditate, or doesn't mean we shouldn't get outside and ground or connect with, earth. What I mean is that addiction to having to be working on ourselves spiritually. So what that means is doing it just out of sheer joy. Doing it because it feels good versus doing it because we think we have to in order to accomplish something. So I feel like that's a really important topic right now to share with everyone. I see that a lot of times when I'm working with someone, we are so hard on ourselves. We think because something's going on in our lives, we have to heal it. When in actuality, it's sometimes just recognizing that something's going on in our lives, acknowledging it, and being patient with ourselves does heal it, and it doesn't have to prolong it into some huge, long process. Some things take a huge, long process, especially the more energy we give them, or the more we, beat ourselves up over things, the longer this processes take. So having said that, that's something that I'm seeing going on a lot right now. The other thing that I'm seeing happen a lot in the collective is this concept that we have to just narrow down what we're doing to one thing. Many of my friends don't just do one thing. A lot of the light workers and friends that I work with are doing a multitude of things because we're multidimensional. And yeah, we may have been an energy healer the last 30 lifetimes, right? That doesn't mean we're necessarily going to use that same skill set in this lifetime only. We might be able to tap into 10 other different things. I just had an amazing session recently with this light worker who's just jack of all trades, a beautiful gift. And from my vision of her, for example, I saw her doing everything. And that's happened a few times in a few sessions I've had. Oftentimes we have one thing that we're really good at that we either don't know that we're good at, or we don't recognize. And so we're being invited to really know thyself. What do we enjoy doing? Do we enjoy reading? Do we enjoy writing? Do we enjoy dancing? And it doesn't always mean that that has to be what it is we decide to do for a career, or to charge people for, or to decide that, well, the only thing I'm good at is this, so that must be what I have to do. It's more than that. It's having fun, it's balancing, and sometimes it's just dancing for the sheer joy of dancing in order to move energy around and not necessarily do our light work through that. We might channel, but that may not be something we want to do as a career. It might just be something we do with our higher self and our guides, and we don't necessarily need to share that. But on the flip side, I'm seeing these other beautiful people that I've worked with who have this beautiful gift that they aren't sharing it with the world, and they feel like they're completely stuck. And the reason that oftentimes they're completely stuck is because they're harboring all of this creativity and they're not doing anything with it. They're sucked into this global narrative, for example, or learning this modality from somebody else when in actuality, they've already got it within them. Not to say that learning a new modality doesn't open channels of remembrance, activations. So there's this line that we're being kind of guided to say, where am I at? When do we step up and say, I'm ready? Or when do we keep hiding behind an addiction to spiritual teachings, meditation, addiction to this? And I say addiction with love, it just means that's all we're doing. And we're not actually applying it in our own everyday life. And when I say applying it, that doesn't mean that we're actually meditating. That's great. That is a form of applying it. But then how are we utilizing that in our everyday life, right? In our everyday world with our brothers and sisters, our parents, our family, our work. And that's when everything comes together. I spent years not sharing anything that I did, always being a sponge and taking in all that information. And then there came a point where it was like, you need to just do this. What better time is now? And I'm just hearing that kind of like, yes, across the board, just do it. On the flip side, there's this other realm and the other end of the spectrum of people that are just doing it, that haven't done the work, that are not spiritually or emotionally ready per se for some of those things or responsibilities that come with this particular work. So we're finding that balance, and we're finding that our skill set, my husband, you just sometimes have to laugh. So we're working on that. So where are we? Are we ready to step up? Are we in a place of fear? Have we just listened to a bunch of other things that people are talking about and not actually practiced it ourselves? These are all good questions for us to kind of check in with. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that. A lot of people are just ready to go. All right, I have to end this video right now, but that was my message. I guess maybe this was just meant to be a short burst, right? Last but not least, all right, my husband. So he just was saying, tell him you have a husband that's very supportive. That's important. That is so symbolic right now, because the other thing that I get a lot of people reaching out to connect with me is about not being supported. So let's talk about that just briefly. Now that I have no distraction, really. In the beginning, when I first started doing this work, I didn't have the support because I didn't really know what was going on. So the other question I keep hearing, all right, two things. One, not question, synchronicity. One thing is it real? Is this really happening? Am I really speaking light language, or is it just a bunch of craziness? Am I really speaking to my guides? Is there something going on in dream time that my dreams are coming true? I'm having synchronicities? Yes, most of the time, unless there's some type of, we'll say split, meaning we are not in our bodies, or we're having this conversation with our ego, right? That's an example of someone who maybe hasn't done the work, and they're talking to themselves. And they're talking to themselves about things like, I need to do the dishes, and and I can't believe this person said that to me. We've all done that, right? We've all been there, done that. But it becomes this space of that deeper knowing when you ask a question and you get this deep answer. And that comes with a level of discernment and responsibility. There is just a lot of activity going on right now, but thank you for bearing with me. So there comes this idea of, is it my imagination? So when you have done the work, you start to discern what is the deeper level and what isn't. Oh boy, I'm just gonna keep going. Sorry about the noise. You start to discern, okay, this is my higher self and this is my ego. What happens is people start to think that their egos are their higher selves, and in reality, they're just their ego. They're just a story. They're just something. So that's something to practice. How does it make me feel getting this message? Do I feel more expansive, or does it make me feel afraid and confused? If I feel afraid and confused, why? What is it about it that I fear? All of these things. Is this making me feel like I'm better than somebody else? Then we know it's ego, right? So there's a lot of different tricks that we can use to start to discern what is trash, what is something that we can just throw out as a lesson for us, using our environment to show us what it is we should be talking about and focusing on, and synchronicities. So the support group was important. So that's part of it. Also, when you start to tune in, there's other people that are tuning into this too. So I've said this before, I would write things down and then I would watch a video and another teacher would be telling the same thing that I wrote down a couple of days before. And that's another way for me. Yes, it was validation. Yes, it helped me get out of fear and confusion, but it also helped me discern, because I could ask myself, do I respect this person? Is this somebody that I really feel good listening to? Or is this somebody that is kind of makes me feel uneasy? And then if I was getting information that they were tapping into, I could ask the questions like, well, why am I tapping into that information that's making me feel uneasy? And then I was able to let some of it go and just go, well, just because I am. I was at that level of awareness. And as soon as I tapped into that, I recognized, ooh, I'm in a playing field that I don't necessarily want to play in. But I needed to experience that in order to recognize where I do want to play and where I don't want to play. Having said that, you will possibly start to have messages that come through that are for that are in alignment with other speakers, other teachers. You know, all the time I'll do a video and I won't have posted it yet, and a couple of the people I still listen to will have done a video on almost exactly what I was getting. And this in part is, it's a collective experience. So it's my own unique expression of what I'm seeing in the collective or feeling, as is their representation of it. Sometimes it's exactly the same. It's basically us tuning in, attuning to, like a tuning fork, those vibrations. So it's really fun if you're tuning into what somebody else is tuning into, and that person you feel or recognize is at a higher vibration. It kind of is a good incentive, or I use the word validation loosely. It's just breadcrumbs to keep you recognizing that, hey, you're on track, you're onto something, right? So these are all different things I'm sharing from my own journey that I've learned as I've gone through this, or people that reach out to me that I've become friends with through sessions, because they're like, hey, I speak the same language. And it's like, whoa, this is cool. The other thing is back to support. I've been getting a lot of questions about, listen, I feel like I'm all by myself. And last but not least, I'll talk about ascension symptoms again. I just feel alone. You know, nobody gets me. I feel like everybody's asleep. That is a layer of awakening. And what I really want to invite everybody is to be in your hearts about that, because that isn't true. It feels that way, yes. And I went through that. And I have moments, by the way, that I still feel like that, even though it's not true. It's just those moments that we go through, and it's okay to feel that way. Our support group is there, and once we start to kind of do our own inner work, amazingly enough, that support group will find us, or we will find them. So it is about being patient. It's about having that patience to know, be still and know that There is more than what we're seeing, feeling, hearing, knowing in this now moment. When we first come online, so to speak, or we first activate, all of these physical symptoms come up, all of these emotions come through. We might cry for no reason. We might meet people in our lives that we just really thought we were never going to see again, and we're like, why is this coming up again? It's the great purge. It's the great activation. For me, I was like, bring it on. I want to get rid of it all so I can just move forward. And let me just tell you, that's been going on for at least 3 years now. Yep. Sometimes it takes a while, depending on how deeply embedded these habits, thought processes, beliefs, patterns are, memories in our system. But it truly can clear as quickly as that if we allow it to. So it's recognizing we are not alone. It might feel that way at times. It's by us watching these types of videos, reading a good book where we recognize that it's a quantum universe and that everything is a holographic presentation, or, we do connect through the heart. All of these things can assist us in not only expanding our awareness, woo, this light's so fun, but also not feeling alone. And we have those, okay, I think I'm going to be all right. But it's that patience with ourselves and not putting these expectations on ourselves like, well, I'm a light worker, therefore I should be doing healing. Not if we're not healed ourselves, not if we haven't really taken the time to integrate, process our emotions, and because otherwise all this stuff comes on, we still have to process it. So if we're going out and doing healing work, we haven't done the work ourselves, then we're processing double, if that makes sense. Plus, we can oftentimes be projecting onto somebody else's experience, right? Our own stuff. And we've all, I think many of us have already done that and learned from it, right? As have I. That's why I'm sharing this. What else? This support group. Sometimes we'll go through a stage where nobody supports us because we're meant to go through that stage of not feeling supported so that we can go deeper within us and be our own support system, if that makes sense. And then that can sometimes be more empowering than having somebody else to lean on. And so that's really important to recognize and remember from my perspective, because it's just part of the process sometimes. And some of us have amazing support group. Just because someone doesn't get it, or someone doesn't believe in channeling, or doesn't believe in what it is that we're doing, I constantly am being reminded, is that why I'm doing it? Do I really need this person to get me? Do I really need this person to understand me? Do I really need this person to think that light language is real in order to keep doing what I'm doing? Well, no. So why am I upset that they don't understand? That's my own ego needing validation or wanting to feel like I belong to part of a group. And last is non-conforming. We don't need to conform to somebody else's belief systems, no matter what those beliefs are. If it doesn't feel right for us, it isn't necessarily our own truth. And that's okay. So, in love and light, I'm just going to end on that note. Have fun creating. Be patient with one another. And I'm in patience and gratitude of my process and myself, and doing my best to stay in that with everybody else's process. And by the way, it doesn't always work that easily. It does sometimes take a lot of deep breathing, these physical symptoms that come on, reminding ourselves this is just an upgrade. This means I need to care for myself, get my diet right, drink more water, don't freak out. If I am freaking out, honor that I'm freaking out and not project it onto somebody else. Sometimes when we're going through all of this, it also is like everything's making us aware of how unaware other people are. But again, we have to ask ourselves, are we judging how unaware that other person is? I catch myself doing it still. It's that neutrality, and I'll go, oh wow, is that person asleep? Or am I just seeing things from another perspective that isn't maybe understanding their perspective in this moment? And even just that thought can just diffuse any type of polarity that I'm feeling in that moment towards that particular belief, person, place, thing, subject matter. In love and light, guys. Namaste.